Here in Florida, there seems to be this conversation going on about Florida's, I'm referring to it as our feathery identity crisis. So, Florida's never been shy about color or character. Our coastal sunsets are beautiful. The echo of the cicadas are beautiful. Every inch of Florida screams with personality. But the one question that has been stirring conversation lately is, should we replace the Northern Mockingbird, which has been our state bird since 1927, with the American Flamingo? And at first glance, it might not sound like that big of a deal. It might be like a simple swap of feathers, so to speak. But underneath it lies a bigger conversation about who we are as Floridians and the story we want to tell the world. Personally, I love the history and symbolism that is there in state symbols, whether it's your flag, your bird, whatever. And I don't think people realize, I think it's like, oh, the flamingo's pretty, it's on the postcards, yeah, let's change this. And so I wanted, from the best expert I could find out truly about the Northern Mockingbird and the flamingo. So start off, Noah, if you could tell us a little bit about your experience, because he's an author. I have his book here about penguins, which is amazing. And I know that you've done a lot of other books. So give us a little overview on why I consider you the quintessential expert.
Yeah, well, you can call me the bird man. That's fine. Bird nerd, that works too. Yeah, that's what I do these days. I lead birding tours to Antarctica and the Arctic and beyond, and leading a couple trips to Alaska this summer as well. And I work for a magazine in the U.S. I'm the associate editor of Birding Magazine, which is the main publication of like the serious birders in this part of the world. And you give presentations and write books about birds. So that's what I do.
Well, that's great. So if you could educate us, for instance, the Northern Mockingbird's traits, characteristics, and the flamingo's traits and characteristics.
Sure. Well, out there in Florida, mockingbirds are a common backyard bird. So they are a real bird of the people, I suppose you could call them. They're familiar. I mean, everyone's got mockingbirds around their neighborhoods, and probably the standout characteristic of the mockingbird is its song, its ability to mimic, especially other birds and even other sounds. A single mockingbird can sing hundreds of different songs, which is spectacular for a bird. That's like amazing. Other birds don't have that type of ability. And they like mix in all the other sounds that they pick up just that they hear in everyday life. So mockingbirds, you can sometimes pick out what they're weaving into their vocalizations. They'll even sing songs that incorporate sounds of like frogs and machinery and just other stuff that they hear around their territory. So I think it's pretty cool that you get to hear mockingbirds singing around your yards all the time, one of the greatest songsters in the world.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why they selected the mockingbird, was exactly what you said. You can see it everywhere here. They're on the front porch. They're, by the barn. They're by the swamp. They're in rural neighborhoods, in cities. They're everywhere here in Florida. Whereas the flamingo is basically down. It's making a comeback in the Everglades and a few bays, but it's not. Everybody in Florida doesn't get to see a flamingo. So it's even though the mockingbird is not seasonal. I'll put it that way. And
I
the
like the
flamingo,
mockingbird. I feel like it's an easy bird to take for granted, maybe, just like, the commoner something is, the more you tend to overlook it. But they're they're a really smart, intelligent, and fairly fearless bird. And the extent that they will go to defend their territory against other invaders and keep other mockingbirds out, but also other potential predators that come into their territory, they'll swoop down and try to chase them away to protect their families and their nests. And so I gotta give a lot of credit to the mockingbird.
that's true, because I know that generally a lot of times you won't see a mockingbird until it sees you. But when it sees you, if you're close to its nest, you will be dive bombed.
Oh yeah, and you can see when they fly, they have those big white flashes in their wings and their tail. That's to show off to each other, but it's also to like scare up insects when they're trying to find food for themselves, and to like make this bright flash so that when they're dive bombing other predators, it's like it freaks them out. It's like, oh my gosh, what is this coming out of the sky?
That's great, though. They protect their territory. So they sing, they incorporate, they include all the different, and that's what it was, is like all the different voices from the different cultures that are in Florida, and very protective of our culture, of our state. So again, when I first heard this, I was like, oy, 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 please, no, let's not do, fluffy. I mean, don't get me wrong, the flamingo's beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about the flamingo now, because I don't think anybody that was doing this bill thought about this. I thought they just like looked at the postcards and didn't think about the symbolism of the flamingo. So tell us about the flamingo now.
Well, of course, everybody knows the flamingo as a symbol. I mean, it represents the tropics. Really, the species here is the American flamingo. There are different species of flamingos in different parts of the world, so it's not so much a bird of Florida. They don't nest in Florida. There was this big event, though, a couple of years ago. A hurricane blew through. Maybe you remember, and a whole bunch of flamingos started showing up in Florida as passengers in this hurricane that were blown up from the Caribbean. And some of those flamingos have stuck around, as I understand. So there's now more flamingos. There's like a couple of flocks of them in southern Florida. But even so, it's not a bird that Floridians are really going to see in their home state unless you specifically go out looking for one in a place that they're known to be staked out.
Right. And I do remember that. And everybody's like, oh, the flamingos are coming back. The flamingos are coming back. They don't realize that they kind of got blown back. Not that they're just like, oh, yeah, let's go to Florida. Whew.
They're a cool bird. They're everyone knows what a flamingo looks like, but if you really look at one, they're pretty weird. They have a beak that's essentially glued onto their face upside down because they spend their days bending over and they try to suck up little brine shrimp and stuff, inverted upside down. So I just think of them as the bird with the upside down beak on the front of their face. They look funny.
Well, that may be some of Florida, but I don't want that representing me. So if we did, that's great. That's fabulous. So if we did kind of a side-by-side comparison, if you will, in the presence, for instance, of the birds, the Northern Mockingbird, we see it statewide from city to countryside. The American flamingo found mainly in the South and in the coastal wetlands. Okay, the symbolism. The mockingbird is its voice, its resourcefulness, and its authenticity. The flamingo, its beauty, revival, and tropical elegance. And then the representation, if you could talk about the representation of, for instance, the Northern Mockingbird representing us as Floridians versus the American flamingo representing us as Floridians.
I think I think the mockingbird is a bird of the people, and it's all over Florida. It's one that people are very familiar with, and the common bird next door. Whereas the flamingo is really more representing the typical exotic sort of aspirational bird, the glamorous one that everyone wants to be someday.
Yeah. So as I look at it, it's kind of like both of them are true. I mean, Florida is a little on the flashy side. We have all the touristy stuff. But as far as living here, it's like maybe the real question isn't which bird to choose, but which Florida we want to highlight. So do we want to highlight the one we live in or the one that the world dreams about?
And the mockingbird, as you have pointed out, really is the status quo. I mean, if you want to stick with history, it was selected as the original state bird of Florida 100 years ago. People in those days, at least, really valued their common neighborhood birds. And if you look at the state birds of all the other U.S. states, it's almost all things like cardinals are really popular. And so the flamingo would definitely be an outlier. You get historic context.
Yeah, and I think also you're absolutely right. Back then, they took a lot of different things into consideration, like the mockingbird is. It's a very diligent bird, very protective. And again, the songs, how, it's the only bird that I know of, and correct me if I'm wrong, that has that kind of, in essence, vocabulary, bird vocabulary to, or mimicry, I guess you could say.
They're one of the only birds I can think of that regularly sing instead of love sight.
So that's what I hear when I wake up and I go out as the mockingbird.
That's it. If you hear a bird belting out a melody in the middle of the night, that is almost certain to be a northern mockingbird.
Good to know, because I'm like, hey, what happened to like the early bird? When do these birds sleep? But that's actually good to know. All right, my state bird, my mockingbird. That's my mockingbird. All right. If it comes up, if it rears its feathery head again next year, I'm going to bring it up. But I think I may just bring it up for conversation before all those reps decide to go down the alley of fine feathered friends.
Yeah, I suppose there's other things we can be spending our time on to debate. But thanks for sticking up for the mockingbird that we all know and love so well.
Thank you. And Noah, thank you very, very much.